and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers and all cosmic masters in training, to this special video episode with another Ascension update coming from me on the deepening, of course, of our self-mastery as always, because so many of us are just swimming deeper and deeper, and it just feels more intense, but at the same time it feels more liberating. So today I want to talk about the liberation of our life force and how this makes us really be who we truly are in the middle point of our self-mastery. So everything in our journey so far has been preparing us to go to the distance. We've had all moments when we wanted to quit, when we wanted to stop, when we were praying for, I don't know, outside guidance, confirmation. We were looking at the specific oracles. We wanted to get readings from others. We wanted to understand. We wanted to really get what it was all about. And all these moments of being squeezed in a way really got us to work on ourselves. You know, when I say work on ourselves, it's not like there's a handbook, you know, it's not just like this self-work or self-help books. Just really work with the aspect of awareness and cosmic integration. So as you know, I always say that our cosmic heart essence and our earth selves are walking hand in hand together in parallel, because they're here to co-create unity consciousness. And all of us here, as we're moving deeper to ourselves, we're here to learn, to remember basically, and to integrate how it is to co-create with our source, to co-create with the divine, and especially with the unique essence of our own divinity. So today I want to talk about how there was so much disillusionment happening. And I want to give you some references, because it all began to be really, you know, on this new level where we're moving toward, you know, everything is in spiral and time is not linear. Our events are not linear. Relationships are not linear. Everything is happening and unfolding in the great spiral of time and space continuum. So if you look at the nature of even how your relationships are coming, sometimes they come, they go, they come back, because time is not linear. We're not linear. We're just accessing different parts of us on a multidimensional level simultaneously, but on a human physical journey it might feel like it's going on a linear journey because it happens in parallel. So that's why we may feel it like that. But in a way, these things that might feel predestined, preordained, or very intense for us, it's just we walk into a part of this segment of the spiral that is yet unknown to us, and yet we have a feeling of, oh, this is destined or this is fated. It's because in a way we've been there before. You know, we've been there on a maybe a bit of a lower part of this spiral, and now we've climaxed through it, and we kind of came to this point where a lot is starting to dissolve. So when I talk about these timelines, please know that you all have very specific timeline for yourself, because many times there's people who ask me questions such as, you know, Polona, can you specifically tune into what's happening right now in my energy, or with the current energies of the twin flames, or these kind of things. And the truth about this is that there is such a thing as the collective reality, but when this collective reality within it, there's like fragments, and we are part of these fragments. There's unique particles, and we're each here to live out our own created, destined part of how we co-create with Source. So it won't be a simultaneous experience for us. In a way, it will be, because we are part of that conglomerate, the synthetic feeling of our unity. And sometimes we might feel experiences that won't be physically experienced as our own, because we're all collectively dreaming together. But that part of the cosmic dream, which is just ours and how we experience it here on Earth, is just for us. So it's very hard for me to talk about specific collective guidelines and what's happening in the collective, although I do talk about the potential for our ascension energies and how many of us are accessing these gateways and how we can work with these energies, what comes through me through spirit. But I can't tell you where each and every one of you is at, because this is your own job of cosmic integration and awareness. So the thing is, it's what I like to talk about is the potentials, the principles, the creation principles, and then how we, in our own individual way, step through them. This will be very unique and personal just for us, okay? So the things and concepts I'm talking about always take as such, okay? It doesn't mean no necessarily when I'm talking about something that you're already having that experience, or that you're calling that essence into your life, or maybe that you're ready for a particular part of this journey, or that even it will be a part of your journey if you haven't chosen it, or in relation to what I share might not at all resonate with you because you're choosing a different timeline. So that's all perfect. Please understand that this is all shared within the absolute neutrality of what is. And it's just given as an offering to those who are really paving this way and who do feel that we're becoming more and more the masters of creation. And what does it mean? The master of creation, I'm asked this question a lot, is someone who has mastered in the physical sense their life force, their spirit life force attunement to the degree that they know that they're not a passive force, they're not a bystander, they're not just a witness and the observer, to reach an enlightened Buddhic state. When you say, now I've got it all, I'm living in an enlightened state, you go beyond that, you transcend that. And there's a different connotation to the journey that we as Ascension Pioneers are creating, because what we're doing here is also mastering our creator potential, to witness ourselves, but also to create as master creators. So in order for us to do that, we need to take all the fragmented life force that we have maybe been planting in different lifetimes, or we've had in different relationships, experiences, or certain patternings, and we're taking it, we're claiming it back. And that is why this timeline can only be your unique experience, how you do it, when you do it, and however you may come to that conclusion for yourself, because it will be a natural guidance. So to be a cosmic master of creation is beyond just being the ascension master. The ascension master is that third aspect of ascension, which is the creation aspect. When you start to co-create with your sacred sexual life force energy, your tantric exchange energy, when you participate and engage with all life with your uniqueness. So I'm going to talk about here today, with all the distractions that really in a way are still illusions that we're waking up from, the dreams that are part of that collective dreaming. So as conscious co-creators, we're becoming consciously aware of what we're dreaming. So we're just not dreaming from the subconscious levels. Sometimes you go to sleep. I mean, we always go to sleep, but sometimes we have these dreams that might feel very scattered and unconscious. But what we're doing here in our daily physical aware reality is becoming really consciously aware of what we wish to create, so that we can have that life of that experience. And even though sometimes things on the outside might not feel exactly as we want to be engaging with life, but these are mirrors for us to reflect on what maybe has not yet been fully embraced. So masters of creations are those pillars that have fully undertaken this journey of complete self-assessment and wholeness, when you integrate every single aspect of your cosmic plus earthly nature in parallel, because you don't perceive your physical earthly experience as no longer separate from what you perceive as your higher self, your multidimensional self, your much greater self. And if you want to know more about this experience and get activated on that front, please subscribe to my Ascension, multidimensional ascension video course. It's around 4 hours long, and it has lots of material to help you to activate that divine cosmic remembrance. So let's move on to today's topic, which is, in the beginning, I want to really start with this mass disillusionment. So the timeline as I've perceived it for myself, and the energies when they came through in general. But when you step on that joy ride, when you say, I'm going to join this ride, then it really is up to you. So that's the difference between the collective potential for this planet and those of us living here and creating here, and when we personally choose to participate and also co-create with that. So that's the only difference between the collective and personal. So when I perceived this disillusionment began with the leap year. This leap year was a cosmic leap in a way. So for a lot of us at that time, old structures began to dissolve in a more rapid state than they have been so far. Because so far, this process of ascension is it's happening within a certain rotation field dynamics, right? Where magnetics and electricity at one producing this chemistry, which is also a biological, physical human template. So as this takes place, we're getting more and more rapid frequencies in these downloads, right? So with this current wave, and really starting to potentialize even deeply with the eclipse season, which we're now in, especially this period between the eclipses is the strongest. because this is almost like this 0 point, like a no time experience. It's the closest we can get to that vortex energy feeling, when this void that we're presented with has maximum potentiality for new life to be co-created. So I know that a lot of people still talk about this mirroring, reflecting, and all these. This is the basic template. But what I talk about is already the advanced level. For those of you who have done this journey, I mean, we're always doing a little bit of that, even though we've ourselves have maybe completed it for ourselves. Sometimes you as a volunteer soul will choose to take on a specific role that you still feel a little bit of that, so you can assist others, because you can't really assist what you cannot feel. Or maybe you have so far transcended that your energy is no longer there, so you can't help others. That is why, even though we've mastered it and sometimes you feel it's coming back, why it's coming back, at this point, when you know you've mastered it, you know you've come to your wholeness and completion, you connected with these divine archetypes, you've kind of managed to embody them within yourself and really embrace through complete unconditional love, acceptance, trust, and all that. But you somehow still feel some of that coming back, or sometimes it's through a relationship, but you feel you've already done this part. And I will talk about that too. But the difference now is that we are assigning that, we're taking that upon, and no longer feels painful and no longer feels emotionally triggered, but it's still there. It's because the trigger is no longer there because we've done the work. But the essence is still there because we're choosing to assist others as they're going about this journey. And this is why we've come here to do, as Ascension Pioneers, this work first, as primaries, as conduits, as basically the pioneers who are paving the way. Because when the new wave is paved, or something that wasn't yet potentialized before, almost like, that concept when the Native Americans, they did see the ships coming in, from Europe. They were coming with the conquestors, so they didn't know, because they didn't have visualization or even idea what they look like or what they are. So now with us paving the way, we're bringing those codes of what's potentials, which potentials are possible and what's plausible, and for our greater good at this time in our human evolution. So because we're paving the way, this will now become more accessible on a greater level. This is not just for people who understand certain facts about spirituality, or what does it mean to be spiritual or new age or all of that, or people who are never even religious. They haven't ever subscribed to any of those choices, maybe, or these energetics in their lifetimes, and maybe just random people living their daily life. But now they're going to start opening up. So we're here for the masses. We're not just here for people who know these concepts. So that's what I want to talk about today, with the merging of all these attributes, right? For those of us cosmic masters who really know that we're here to almost like embrace this on such a big, giant, cosmic, greater level, that it becomes a potentiality in a far wider range that we're just sharing within tiny groups and tiny collectives that we might understand, we might have understood and assigned on the certain level where we were at. So now it's going bigger. We want to merge with people. We want to fuse more with life. We want to go out to do live streams. We want to move out with people. We want to exchange in new ways. So this is what this is bringing, this disillusionment energy, right? So I'm gonna start talking about this, but I wanted to give you a little bit of the preview, what this means for us as Ascension Pioneers, and why maybe things are coming back, but they no longer feel like triggers. Because now we're already doing that part, which is participating in that to share, but we've already mastered that. Certain things we're still mastering, brand new, and it's always going to be like that. There's a part of you that's an advanced part of you that's already going and moving ahead, and it's already seeing and activating new things. And there's a part of you that's already integrated here. It's almost like illuminating and being that pillar for those who are still moving into that energy, right? Into that essence. So this is almost like our service is beyond just a linear focal point of what we might do. It's not a job. It's more wide, it's just much wider and grander in a sense of how much it can embrace, how much life force it can actually provide for the future templates, for the future spirit initiates coming into this circle of life, because it is all about circle of life. Almost like the Lion King song, right? The circle of life. So I want to start talking about this great disillusionment and the liberation of our life force that began to take place with the leap year. So this tiny little cosmic gateway, and then with this eclipse season, it really started to get stronger. And I've had this sense, and I've shared it with actually with not a lot of people. It's just the closest ones to me, but we've had this experience almost like coming at the top of this mountain, and I've had like this feeling like that I've I didn't ascribe to what many did. So like everyone took this special pill and is now under this hypnosis, and I'm not, and I'm still seeing, almost like, you go to a club and everyone there is drunk and a bit stoned and hazy and everything is foggy for them, but you're the sober one and seeing what's real and what's not. So this is how this energy might have felt for you. This disillusionment, because remember I told you in the last video, be careful how you connect to the Neptunian energy, which is, there can be a lot of illusion associated with that. And now we're having some celestial alignments which are very prone, to that experience. Especially we have that Saturn and Neptune connection, which takes us, see what's real, the ideal and how to get it into the real. Watch my video on that, which was, I think, in the autumn, early winter, autumn here, in my timeline. So that actually explained what we're going to do in this future coming times. And this means that we really have to get sober, because the mass sleep is not just within the people you might call people who know nothing about the New Age, or people who know nothing about these spiritual concepts. Sometimes in my journey, I've noticed that there's certain people who they're from different walks of life. And when you're a pioneer, you will always meet people from all walks of life. You won't just meet people who you say, oh, they're from the spiritual community. Wow, these are the only people I can share with. Your life force will be for all. It wouldn't be reserved just for special circles. If you imagine there was this example with Joshua, and within his purpose, how he was sharing, he had a different approach to different masses of people and different groups. So to the masses, he spoke certain words, and that's why people translated his words on that level to a certain degree at that level, right? So then he had his closed groups, and he spoke about different things and more deeper. And then he had only a few who he trusted with the highest essence of that wisdom, which is cosmic, and all of that, which sometimes is just for the initiated ones. And these were like his tight group, like his tiny little tight group of his disciples, or and certain things he only shared with his beloved. So do you see, that's how we are to be. It's not to keep our life force closed for anything that we say, oh, that's not spiritual, or that wouldn't understand us. We just need to learn how to flow with our life force so that it expresses itself with the right potentiality, with the right people, with the right circumstances, and you trusting that. And no longer putting this separation, what's spiritual, what's not spiritual, because these dogmas are just the same as any type of the religious dogmas that New Age people often say, oh, this is religion, this is bad, or this is very non-awake or non-aware. So the thing is that the more you step into this middle point, this is the middle point of your self-mastery, the more you will see that this New Age inner voice, and I wrote about this New Age inner voice, which a lot of times it polarizes our experiences, it makes us say, this is bad, this is, this is wrong, and it constantly weighs different things. Your life force is not like this. Your life force is firm. It's in the body. It's embodied soul essence of who you are in truth. And that's what we needed to go through all this purging, and we're still undergoing that purging, so we know what is really us, what is our life force, or what is coming to us through external conditions or other people's desires. A lot of people were pleasing others because they felt these are my desires. In the end, they woke up from that sleep and noticed, ooh, that's not even my desire. It might be my lover's desire, or my neighbor's desire, or my parents' desire, or anything like that, or the collective, the society. But the thing is that the moment we stop ascribing to all these beliefs and all these main capacities to hold us and to take our life force, it doesn't take it from us, but we give it to all of that, right? So when we start to really bringing back, we will have more of that solid feeling with life force guiding us beyond this conflicting, that's wrong, that's good, that's bad, constantly judging, right? And up until this point, even we're all going through this journey. No matter how much mastery you have and you feel within you and it flows through you, will still have like tiny leftovers that you've ascribed to as a human. So embracing our humanity is very important, and no longer denying it and saying, I didn't have that. I don't have that because that's not spiritual. I don't have that because I'm a spiritual person. That is just bullshit in a way, right? So we need to be real and see what parts of us are still choosing to be played out so we can embrace them in full unconditionality. So even I had this little voice that used to tell me, I was in this human situation, and this new agey voice said, is that good for you? That's not even good. That's not even spiritual. That's not good. And this little voice, sometimes it comes and it feels very much like it trains you. And I've had this experience this weekend when I just went out in town and I really had a blast. I went out, I went dancing, I went for a beautiful dinner, I was hanging out. I had this beautiful experience of just being in love, and it was just an amazing experience and just being joyful. Joy is the essence of our new, of our mastery. And I've noticed that I did walk into a new aspect of myself because I wake up in the morning and I notice, where's this little voice? It didn't tell me any of this. And I realized that just by embracing this, by you doing that, even against the odds of you saying, I shouldn't be doing that, you transcend that because you've given that part of you the opportunity to play itself out so that you're just dissolving it through love. It's not the same as denial when you say, I don't like this aspect of me and this one and this one and this one. In the end, you have a fist, closed up beingness, which means you haven't integrated aspects of yourself in your humanness. So you haven't embraced your humility, your true human nature, but you have actually continuously put it. I sometimes have said, I put this on the pause mode, or you were negating yourself. You were pushing these aspects of your human nature aside, and you weren't feeling them because this new agey voice or religious or whatever it was, the too spiritual voice, it's too high to do that voice. High above the clouds, right? So sometimes this caused us to feel not listened to our inner human, which I always tell you, we're awakening, enlightening, and ascending our inner child. It's the human experience, the humanity, the humane aspect within us that we're lifting up, and we're creating a new template. So this is the journey. I would call it the beloved journey, but you may call it whatever you want, right? So within this experience, it's this natural sense of entanglement, or then later when you transcend it, this disentanglement. And watch my previous video because I've shared on that note. But this disillusionment with this mass sleep, this sleep doesn't just relate to, as I've said, to the people who know nothing about spiritual terms, light worker terms, purpose terms. These people they're just going about their journeys, living their purpose. They're not asking themselves every day, what's my purpose? What's my spiritual mission? They're just allowing life to teach them. And these people are also awakening and ascending. It's just that we sometimes, when we're so indoctrinated in what we do and what we perceive as spiritual, instead of just masters of the self, we haven't always had that understanding. But now this disillusionment, this veil, this is that last veil which really is able to keep us separate from the spiritual and not spiritual, good, bad, right, wrong. We have so many of these veils, and this sometimes is the hardest nut to crack in a way. So this mass sleep, like I've said, is not just for the people who you might say, these people are random people, they know nothing about this. I've noticed it in the mass new age movements when people would say things that are very wishy-washy. So anything that is an illusion is something that, in a way, the easiest way how I can present and show this as an example is you want to go somewhere up there without roots being planted. So you haven't had the experience, you haven't had the wisdom. Imagine there's two people, right? Let's say you have a brother, a sister, or two brothers or two sisters, and they talk between each other. And one is older and they've already lived through some of the experiences they've had as a human, and the other one hasn't. So one is about to make this decision, and the other one says to them, oh, you shouldn't do this. No, 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 it's not good for you. Let that go. It's because they haven't had this journey. They haven't had the experience, and they look at everything in a linear sense, in a vertical sense, or to horizontal sense. It's just that it's separate. It's kept separate within them. While the other one says, I know I've had this experience before, but I hadn't had it on this level. So my heart guides me to have this choice, not to let it go, because when we say, oh, let that go, forget about it, we're actually in denial, we're negating. We're putting off these aspects of ourselves that want to come out and play and be embraced in the totality of our human love. Because the human love is no separate from the extraterrestrial love, angelic love, whatever you call it, cyber love, cosmic love. It's the same love. So as well as we're thinking, oh, angels love us unconditionally. Do we love angels unconditionally? ETs love us in their own way, and they're helping us. Are we having that same love? Is it reciprocated? Because a lot of times as humans, we think of things too much one-sided. Just one direction, just one live stream. But it's not like that at all. We have to be in this constant state of giving and receiving love, which is in-breath and out-breath. So this is the true nature of the middle path. M stands for our mastery, the middle point of our self-mastery, which is not often what people would perceive. People with these spiritual glasses would say, ooh, someone dressed like this, or someone going out to have a fun night out in town. They're not a master, because a master is someone who meditates there in the cave all day. This is the old perception we have of the spiritual master. What we're becoming now is a creation master. We're creating ourselves, our human vessels, our environments in a total brand new sense. And how can we do that if we're only meditating and staying in the cave? Our meditations are meant to become embodied, conscious, walking meditations, right? To live life in full capacity of our co-creation with the divine. So all these sages and ancients and all these saints and masters of the previous ages were way showers at that specific age and that specific purpose that they had. But what are we? Who are you? Who am I? What is our purpose within the natural scheme of embracing ourselves? The totality of our complete wholeness. So that which a lot of people have been calling the twin flame journey, the whatever they call it, I call it the beloved journey. I don't like to use that term, but the thing is that this was all a journey of having all these aspects of ourselves being played out, mirrored to us. When it's done through relationships, it's much faster, because if there's something you're not seeing, and with relationships we see it much faster, we have the capacity to go through it and integrate it much faster. And a lot of us who wanted to do this work first, we said we're going to liberate ourselves and walk into the complete essence of our life force much faster, so that later we can share this with the world, so we can assist. As many of us are volunteer souls, we've chosen to go about this journey so we can show this new template, which is beyond just being this vertical master, right? And staying in our cave withdrawn life forces just for us. We're keeping it all for our meditation. No, at this stage and point in time where we are as cosmic masters, we're going to create with our life force. We're going to also know how to reverberate it outwards and create these beautiful things in all life and creation. So if you resonate with that, it is surely part of your path, and this is what you're consciously choosing. And also on a soul level, of course, that's how it all begins. So this disillusionment also happens with, examples. Sometimes I see examples when people say, oh, we're gonna, the group of humanity is moving into the XY, I don't know, 199th dimension and all these things. And I hear about those things and my belly goes like, ooh, it just doesn't feel right, because it's just a lot of people have been ascribing to this um, illusory almost light, which is so infatuating. It feels so yummy in a way, but in a sense, it also keeps us away from what is real. I know in a way the ideal is who we are, but in our human form where we are now, we have to also embrace what is real. At this final juncture of my video, this template which I'm using on the board, I will show you this on the with the archetype of the tree, with the roots and the branches coming together, creating the infinity symbol. So the roots have to mirror, reflect directly the branches, so that we can have this ascension, descension experience in a polarized neutrality of our neutral point. Like our energy always flows like this. If we want to go only up, 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 up without these roots, we will get ideas about this reality and, let's say, these 55th dimension and things like that, that are just really not real and not what we need right now. And these things they can sound very wow, but sometimes what is wow is not what we need on the level of our mastery. Our life force will always show us what it needs, what we need. And this will not just be ideal, but will be real for us. It will be tangible. It will be the reality just as it is, plain simple, without these goggles and rose pinky glasses. So this liberation means that we are not ascribing to those things anymore. And let me show you now the example of this polarization that can often take place. And I use these three examples for, I use them in the triangle mode, because the triangle, as you know, represents divine trinity, and as well as the divine trinity of that beautiful perfection that we all were made of. We're created from that space of source, of the Holy Trinity, but also it can be distorted in a sense. So on this planet for a long time, there was this Trinity that was created, and this Trinity, for anyone who might mention the word spiritual or religious or new age, it doesn't matter. But the thing is that these are all just different aspects, but they're all around what is in the middle point, and this is M. The M stands for mastery, the middle point of our mastery, which is the master of the self moving into the master of creation. So on one hand, you might have religions, which a lot of times are about the external savior, trusting that there is something out there. Only the Christ is the Son of the Divine. Only this path is my salvation. Only this, right? So you believe in a certain external savior, right? So then you have the New Age, which is a lot about these prophecies or moving into this false light, which is, when I say false light, in truth, there is no false light. It's just the perception of the false light, right? There's just light in truth. But when I say this, it means that we have an idea of a certain idea of the light, which is not as it is in truth. This means of the grouping light before you even know yourself. And what do you do? Imagine you forgetting who you are, coming into this room full of light. When you enter this room, what happens? You forget who you are. You no longer remember. You're a part of this, ooh, you lose yourself, right? Almost like people that are not yet fully substantially firm within their own knowing of the self, when they start certain relationships, which is really strong and potent with love and romance and infatuation, they lose themselves for a moment. And that's where these disentanglements start to happen, and disillusionment happens in relationships, and people no longer feel in love because they go to the other extreme of that polarity. So with this in mind, I want to tell you that the false light really means the losing of yourself before you even became your master of the self, before becoming your own sovereign. So you think there's a light of unity without you even knowing your uniqueness within it. So when you step into a room of this full light, you forget who you are. You no longer know. So you give your life force to that. So in the New Age, is also a lot about the external authority. And we trust other gurus, other teachers, other leaders, even prophecies that tell us how this is going to happen, or twin flames will unite at this date, or this waves of pioneers or twins or whatever it happens, they will unite at that specific timeline. Is that true? What did I say in the beginning about we are each on our own evolutionary soul timeline? There is no other thing. We are part of the group. We are part of the greater collective, but we all have our own soul agreements, our own soul timelines, and the chosen destiny that we're creating. When I say destiny, it means that which we are choosing to create, not something we perceive as fated. We don't have to do anything about it. It's just trusting our soul as it's following, guiding us along this way for us. And that's not the same as losing ourselves and that which we perceive as just fated, right? So this destined path means that we're working with the creation aspect of our true essence. And with this New Age, this false light can feel very temptuous to us because it tells us things will just happen. Like a prophecy tells us something will happen. A lot of times I witness this and I see certain videos on YouTube that say this will happen, and it's a complete divine intervention or a cosmic dispensation or a cosmic gift. You don't have to do anything about it. You just surrender into it. Of course we are surrendering. Of course the surrender is the highest aspect of living life. But recently, a friend of mine has shared this joke quote with me, which feels very good, because he said, only dead fish swim with the current. And I was laughing because, in a way, it does really relate to this aspect that we sometimes we confuse being passive with surrendering. And I've met this in a lot of people who are only choosing to live a vertical life and a New Age life, and they didn't want to participate with life. They said, I wish my life was different. I hope this was different. I hope one day this changes for me. But they really wanted a different life while never taking at least one effort to change a belief system around that. Because when you change a certain thought wave patterning, your reality starts to get new information. It starts to come in because you're allowing it, because you're not looking at things like this, right? So you're going about it like more and more expansion up until the point you're like 360 degrees, right? Like in an astral chart. It's like the whole circle, the whole spectrum of spirit. And that's what we're doing. You know, we all are each these aspects and archetypes, and when we start embracing all of them, we're no longer waiting. So we are surrendering, of course we are, but not surrendering in terms of waiting, because surrendered life is not the same as waiting and hoping and praying and wishing. The true prayer is the stated intention, is the knowing of what we are consciously choosing, not hoping and asking this or that to give to us, but really stating, consciously affirming what we're choosing to engage with and participate. So participation with life is crucial here. So that third aspect I wrote here is atheism, which is then on the other aspect, complete denial that there is such a thing as a higher power or God or source or anything like that. So this aspect then leads us to that which, in a way, then is a complete denial of everything. So you see, you have all three covered. And none of them is wrong or to be judged with. These are all just parts of the experience. But what stands in the middle is you, as your cosmic master, as a sovereign. And that sovereign means that you mastering your life force, and that the life force is the complete essence of who you are. Because just recently someone asked me when I mentioned self-mastery, and they're one of those people which I mentioned that they didn't choose to have the spiritual or new age life. They're just learning as they go about life and through their own intuition. And they asked me, so what is self-mastery? And I said, at the end, it really is all about the life force, because everything else dissolves and moves away. It's no longer about which dimension you're going at or to, or it's just wherever you are, it doesn't matter, because when you're in your mastery, when you know your uniqueness, whatever kind of room you will go into, even if it will be a false room or the false light, you will recognize yourself in it, and your soul will know where to go and where it's guiding you. Because a lot of the people, even post-mortem, right, after their death experience, well, before they have that experience, a lot of them say, well, after that it's all good because I just go to heaven, I go to be with my God. And in truth, you will go to your ascribed beliefs. That's the first place you will go to. So if you have not mastered who you are, you haven't remembered, you haven't claimed your sovereign life force, I'm not sure where you're going to go to. But that's the reason for self-mastery, is to show us that in the knowing of the self, it's the choice of where that self leads you and where you want to go as a sovereign, which region of the cosmos, which experience. It all becomes in a way voluntary, because up until the point that you perceived yourself to be not capable of making those choices, you've perceived other high councils or authorities, the other authorities are making those choices for you. And that's not wrong, because for a lot of cases this worked well, because these plans were made with the teams of the entire group. But you as a cosmic master now, you're starting to awaken to the complete sovereignty of what you wish and where you wish to go and how you wish to do it. In your physical template, it's still about mastering your human experience and not seeing the judgment of what's right and wrong. Because as cosmic masters and earth masters, so descended descension masters, we are here to embrace every part of the human experience, intermingle with any kind of people, not saying, oh, this is not a spiritual kind of person, I'm not going to hang out with them, yuck, or this person eats meat and I'm a vegan, ugh, yuck. This is all judgment. It's how many of these beliefs we've ascribed to because we've put even a little this boundary that keeps us in this closed box, because we like to label things as humans, so we have the feeling we're in control. But when our life force starts to be in control, it's a totally different experience, and it will feel so liberating, the freedom. So the freedom is also connected to the breaking free, which is the rise of the sexual energy. I wrote this here, right? The rise of the sexual energy. A lot of you, and I was just asked this question by someone, they've shared with me they've had more sexual awakenings recently, and they kind of feel embarrassed about it. And I want to talk about this because this is a part of exactly what I'm talking about in this video. Is the more you break free from these ascribed beliefs, what's good, what's bad, what's spiritual, what's not spiritual, what's new age, what's not, which people should hang out with, instead of just trusting your life force, that it's always supporting you and bringing you the people you're supposed to be intermingling with, where your life force wants to go, how it wants to be shared. It's just complete trust here. Your tiny little separate voice and the judgy and the new agey voice that says, nya, 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 it's like nibbling at you, like nibble, 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 like a little tiny worm. That voice just naturally dissolves and you liberate yourself. With that liberation, your flow of Kundalini starts to rise. You will get more sexual life force awakenings. And this might happen for you as increased vitality. In the beginning, as this happens, when the disillusionment happens, you will get maybe a lot of more fatigue and anxiety and tiredness, which is perfect as well. But as this process and you allow it will be complete, you'll have more life force, you'll be invigorated, you'll have more vigor and stamina, and you'll know again on a higher level how to cultivate your life force. What I'm noticing for myself is when I started this journey of my awakening, and I'll tell you at the beginning, I couldn't yet fully merge, this light body with the physical body merge. When it's happening, we're going to get these orgasmic bursts. But in the beginning, when I had them during my sleep, just prior to my awakening, I couldn't always handle them. So that's why before it happened, like the final culmination point, I always woke up before. And then I was like, oh, agitated. And I was like a bit frustrated why I couldn't just, why I couldn't just pop and reach its culmination, because I wasn't yet in my knowing, and I wasn't yet energetically so in alignment with my physicality, with my higher physicality, so my refined state of being, my light body form, weren't yet fully capable. So there was like trial and error, right? And now, as I'm noticing an increase of this as well in my life, it's just more and more of that sexual life force, because we're liberating ourselves. The more you're free from all these, right? From all these denials, these aspects, these suppressions, even that which is the primary, which is the good and evil, this game of good and evil, and the separation, light and dark, just neutrality of pure love. Love is beyond any of that, and source is pure love. So the more love we open up to, the more love we allow in, that we start to create, this will liberate us. And love truly does liberate us in the end. All these things like pains and triggers and all that just starts to dissolve. And this also goes for a lot of people who might say, who are always saying, oh, me and my twin flame, or my twin flame, they're all about this, them and the other person. And the only love projection they have is between them and that person. Maybe a little bit of their family members as well, but that's it. So all that they think about constantly is the love between them and that person. And almost sometimes gets also into the obsession mode. How about you knowing that your reality, your true mission as the embodiment of your true twin soul, which is your complete polarization and neutrality, is the androgynous nature of who you are, which is to share that twin love with everyone, with everything, being of service. That's the true nature of that purpose. So if you can only kind of cultivate and see that and feel that love just between you and one other, even if that is in truth your twin flame, it's not about that. So there's just an initial stage when your love capacity can be like just a little here in the minimum circle. You are to have and expand that in your region, in your spaces, external spaces, and your communities, and the world wide web, or world at large. We're all larger than life, but we don't always embody that. So that's one thing. I also wanted to share a few of other examples, but now they kind of went off my head because I'm talking about so many things simultaneously. But the master is really the middle point when you are the pillar in whatever kind of circumstances you're in, whatever kind of person. You're not seeing things as spiritual and non-spiritual anymore. It's just gone. I remember I had an experience recently when I began my awakening. This began with a certain relationship, and this was a relationship that I call it my awakening relationship, which we for ourselves, we triggered the deepest and darkest aspects to each other. So this was my lowest of the low before I started rising back up and started to awaken on my journey, when my purpose started to begin on this level. And after a year and a half after I've left that relationship, the person came back and they wanted to see where I'm at. And I said, it's all fine. But I remember that I was very new age at that time. And that was just a part of the great plan. And I was like, I don't need to be with them. I don't need to talk to them. It's fine. I embraced them. It was neutral. The energy was neutral, but it was still a bit fluffy, right? So, after a while, we saw each other again. It was related to another person, and it was still a bit like that. And I said to the person, oh, so we don't even need to see each other again, so bye. So what happened was, just at the end of last year in December, the person reconnected again with me. And I was very much more embracing, much warmer. And I said, of course, yeah, we can meet. It's just beautiful. It was just this beautiful flow. And recently, Spirit showed me that a lot of us who are understanding relationships not as linear, you're with someone, let them go, move on, da 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 da, linear, but we're understanding them as imprints of who we are. There are aspects which we are ascending and then also embodying. And as we kind of come through these different aspects of the spiral, we meet these aspects of ourselves yet again in a new light, in a refined self version, and they show us where we are right now. And what I was shown is that we're not just here to neutralize the energies between maybe these darkest aspects, most wounded aspects of ourselves, which we no longer even feel as wounded. It's just pure joy. That's what I felt in this experience, was that a mirror of that which was the lowest low at that point is now pure joy. And the guidance was that now we also came here to not just neutralize, but bring the deepest joy to that, to our relationships, but basically through ourselves. If we're capable of doing that with the people who we think back then hurt us the most, or they were our greatest reflections of misery, of suffering, of codependency, of attachment, addiction, of even physical illness, that's all gone. It's for all of us that we're moving into this new cycle is just gone. We can't even relate to that experience anymore. It's almost like when you can laugh about it, like you watch it as a play, and it's, you know, you are a participant in it, and yet you also know that this is not who you are. And it's almost like two people now meeting each other, but they're different people now. And even if the other person is not where you are, or they're not as spiritual, you know what I mean? Maybe they're not yet that masterful, but because you have changed so much, how you respond to them, how you exchange with them, it will be that third energy you create with the person, which is the relationship itself, will change very drastically. Up until the point that with our twin essence, with this love of the beloved, of the divine lover, we can bring this to every aspect of the human experience. Even with the people who you would say, well, they're not choosing their highest integrity choices. But these are the people that need our presence. You see, that's the difference. And it has nothing to do anymore with any segregation and putting people in labels and boxes. So that's why, you know, mastering this triangle is very important, because this is the basic triangle of what we perceive as how we are in relationship with the higher force, with source. It can either be total denial of it, you know, through atheism. It can be complete denial of ourselves, that we're not important, it's just the external savior, someone coming, or, you know, even in New Age, we also have the savior, but it's coming for us. There's an external authority, even ETs, for example, they're going to come to claim us, rather than knowing that there are aspects of us that we can connect to within our hearts, because the human light DNA has the quotient of all the extraterrestrial races. That is how the human genome was created in the first place. So that is how we're actually mastering ourselves, but embracing these aspects, because we are within ourselves, these ETs, we are these angelics, and we're just activating our extraterrestrial DNA, angelic DNA, source DNA, co-creator DNA, all of these aspects, we're bringing them back. And with the fusion through each and every one of those relationships we might have encountered, for some people maybe many of them, for some people just one person, and they feel, okay, this is my twin flame, and they only had this mirroring with one person, they choose to. There's no difference. Each of our journeys was in a way chosen for the reason how it was for us, for a very particular reason. But what I'm saying is, don't project and filter that love only between you and that another, because that love is meant to be the love of all. It's meant to be the love of life force itself, the love of life itself. So when we get to this true awakening, right, we are all about becoming our sovereign. And that sovereign knows only love. It has no duality. And I've met people who have told me, and these are some of the people who call themselves the most spiritual, and I've met them. And when I said to one of these people once, you know, I don't choose that segregation, because they told me, New Age is all false and us false light. And I said, yeah, I know New Age is many things, but I don't judge it. I just recognize it for a part of the game. I recognize it as a part of the collective agreement and what people are still ascribing to for the part of their awakening at the end. I said, I don't judge it. I don't say, oh, this is too new agey for me, and I will be against it. So there's a lot of these spiritualists that are trying to fight against things, you know, and that person was fighting against the new age. And when you fight against new age, you will recognize new age everywhere. And that person even saw new age within me, and I was all about mastery. And because they had such an imprint that that's all you see. So imagine you have a belief about something, and whatever kind of aspect on the outside you will encounter, that is what the first thing you will recognize within them, because this is so strongly within you that they will immediately say yes to that. They will reflect that to you. So it's that obvious. It's that simple. You know, see all these relationships, all these main button pushers or archetypes, whatever you might call it, see it as which aspect of you that represents. And when you look at other people, other persons, say, what aspect of me do I relate most to when I relate to this person? It might be your intuitive aspect, might be your resentful aspect, your jealous aspect. They might represent your highest spiritual aspect, you know? They might enjoy life with you. Say, oh, this is my sensual aspect, embracing life in all its forms and, you know, the grace of all the beauty of what is alive. And embrace those aspects, because these are all aspects returning to you that maybe they weren't returning that fast if you didn't have those mirrors. So once you know how to do that, you will no longer fight against things and judge them, you know. And I remember that person then said to me, when I said, well, I choose to live in unity, they said, no one can live in unity. That's not possible as a human. And I said, wait a minute, you can choose to live in unity. So even when you have aspects of you that might not be aligned with that unity, because you're still choosing it, they will be shown to you. because you're saying, I choose unity. That's the difference, right? Saying, oh, that's not possible. We're saying, yes, I am choosing it, even though I know I am still imperfect in my perfect in my imperfection, right? So that's the difference. Seeing the choice and also the journey through that choice, or seeing a complete denial of that's not possible. No way. Well, maybe for that person it really wasn't possible. But we have no right, truly, to put those labels to others and say, just because I don't have that experience, you suck, or you're not right, or you're a bullshitter, or you're like this and that. This is lack of spiritual maturity. So yeah, this is one example that I wanted to share with you. So the true awakening is what I'm showing you down here with this tree. Life force mastery is all about knowing how to cultivate it, and knowing that our roots always have to be in direct alignment with the branches, right? With the trunk of the tree being in the middle. So the trunk of the tree here, I kind of drew it as the womb. It also has the inner womb, which is the seeds of life are coming out and they're sprouting and we're always giving birth. So we all have within our light self, we have a unique tree of life, right? And what happens is when what we activate, we know how to integrate, we more and more bridge this gap of forming, like you see, this beautiful infinity symbol, or a Vesica Pisces of our twin soul is birthed here in the middle, which means that the seeds, right? You see the seeds that we activate with our branches kind of start to fall down. We let them fall down on the floor so we can kind of assess, and our roots can absorb these seeds, these cosmic activating forces of life. So then the roots start also to expand. And you see the trunks, the trunk is the intermediate link between those branches and the roots. So that all we have is like this beautiful infinity symbol, the nature of our true origin. So to master a life force is in a way to know that you know what is you. You no longer feel you can even ascribe to those programs. And sometimes some of these beliefs are so hard to recognize, but I'm going to give you one example. Even this is ascribing to a delusion, how you might call it. For example, you see something, you see a video, and it's so appealing to you, and it's wow, it's so beautiful. Wow, look at these people, look how they live. Oh, look how this amazing. Wow, and you paint this picture about them, or whatever you see. Maybe it's an idea, or maybe whatever it is, and you feel, oh, this is so beautiful, or you say, oh, why can I have that? Up until the point when one day maybe something happens, or they present an aspect of themselves that you before yet weren't feeling into. And then you see something, you're like, wait a minute, can they be like this too? Or they also have that? Or are they also a little wishy-washy? Or are they also not fully within the reality of what is? And then an aspect of you gets disillusioned because you ascribe to what they're portraying, because we're all putting out what we believe. So if I have a belief I can fly, maybe eventually you would start to see me as someone who flies, on top of the mountains. And the thing is that a lot of times we read into those things, and we read into those things too much with our perceptions rather than the true nature of what is real through our life force, because our life force just feels things, it just knows. And when these things happen, we get disillusioned, and we get disillusioned, it's good because we get more life force back, because we're no longer feeding it to something that we put on the pedestal, or we believe it's so amazing that we can have that. We paint a picture over something, and that no longer has the essence of truth. It's just something we painted over with our own distortions. So it's very important for us to claim that back and see that everything that we truly know comes back to us, about us, for our path. We know nothing in truth about others or what they might portray, and the moment we do, we kind of put a little these distortions to that. So we get this back, and we get it reflected back to us, so we can wake up from that. So the more disillusionment happens, the more this liberates us, the more the rise of the Kundalini and the sacred sexual life force will start to flow, and we will get more of our creativity back. Sometimes if you're not creative, if you feel you're stuck, or you feel you're not moving forward, it's not because you're supposed to manifest differently or do something wrong. It's maybe just that you've put for a certain, it's all temporary. Don't worry, because nothing is ever to even worry about. It's just a temporary experience you're having, a temporary situation you're choosing. But you might be tuning into too many aspects, too scrambled, too everything at once, that you're having your life force scattered in many different directions. So what you need to do is, when you find yourself in this state, notice that. And when you usually will notice, it means that you're already ready to withdraw it. And you had it there in the first place because you needed to have it there. It's not wrong. You wanted to have it there. You wanted to have it a bit scattered and just browsing through different things because you wanted to get the whole view. But now you're ready to draw it back in. And this is how masters learn. They put their life force out in creation. They're kind of tapping into different things. They're scanning. They're like absorbing. But then eventually comes back. They absorb, right? Again, look at the nature of the tree. Activate, precipitate, right? Precipitation. Then again, the rooting. The rooting is the integration. Activate, precipitate, and then integrate. And then you get the whole picture and who you are in truth. So this is basically this process. And for those of you who are feeling more alive, more sexual life force now, it's not having to do anything specifically. Maybe people ask me, is that about my twin? Are they awakening? Is this happening? Look, in the path of mastery, it is all about you. You cannot really do anything, even if it's what you say, your twin in another body. It's just basically all you. It is all about us. Everything, when you have the knowing, the understanding how to bring it back to you, will lead you to more mastery. Anything that will lead you to what's there on the outside. How can I get more information? How can I get this? What is this? What's the collective? It leads you a little further from you. But that, again, like I said, it's a part of the process. When you're just scanning out, you're browsing, you're seeing what's there. And when you're ready, you will withdraw again. Not withdraw like you're withdrawing from life, because there is no such thing. You are life itself. But you are choosing to once again pull it back in with all you've gathered. You've scanned, now you're putting it back. Pillar. So basically that's how it goes. So, my dear beloveds, this is what I wanted to share with you today with great enthusiasm as always. I have to go, as you understand, through my same processes, the same things, same realizations, because I cannot share what is not already integrated within me. I do not share anything if it's up there only. So I always wait till I get all my seeds precipitated and then integrated through my own rooting experience. So the root is anything that we bring down to the very essence of the seeding of life itself, becoming life itself. So a balance, that temperance, is when we are that tree, the upper, the lower merged as one, like one whole being. And this is what we came here to do. Not just become this vertical, person, enlightened just for me, but knowing that we are a part of all the trees of life, that all the life forces of the great life force, basically just one life force of all. And to master our own is to become a part of unity, which is not the false light when you want to escape into this light before knowing who you are, before doing your work, your integration, your healing. You just want to use it as an escaping mechanism. So this is what this path of mastery and the middle path is all about. I hope you loved and enjoyed this video. If you did, send me some feedback. As always, it's very welcome, as well as your conscious support, because we all exist in this human body. So those of you who are participating and donating, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It really helps me to continue to do this on as much as the free base as I can, although I am thinking about expanding certain videos just for certain people and certain groups, but that will come later. So thank you for staying connected as always with so much love, wisdom, and power. I love you all really, truly so much, and thank you so much for choosing a path of mastery, because you're helping so many others just by choosing it. Sometimes the highest service you can give to all life is just choose this highest path to embody it. So namaste, my beloveds, with so much grace. I'll talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye for now. Bye.
Welcome into